we sometimes hate to be the one that is inflicting pain or inflicting the misunderstanding. And you don't mean to do it, of course, but I think that life, just books, experience, relationships, they all teach you, like, understanding comes with understanding yourself and understanding others as well. But I do think that you have to have this level of understanding for self, like, ooh, I know that I do that, it's probably wrong, but when you see it, you have to like be able to call it out.
Hey everyone, welcome back to On Purpose, the #1 health and wellness podcast in the world. Thanks to each and every single one of you. I want to thank you for having stayed with us throughout 2020, for using us as your source of insight, inspiration, and support during this really, really tough time. And I want to share with you why I think today's guest is going to help us go even deeper into an understanding of ourselves. Today, I'm speaking with someone who needs no introduction, but we'll be talking today about motherhood and feeling powerful and her new incredible music. Kelly is a musician, actor, and TV personality, well known for also being a coach on The X Factor. This year, Kelly released new hits like Coffee, Crazy, and Hitman, and I just saw the music video for that, and it's epic. And most exciting of all, Kelly is preparing to welcome her second child very, very soon. Kelly, thank you so much for doing this. I'm so grateful to finally be talking with you.
I'm so excited to be talking to you. I literally feel like I know you and your beautiful wife.
I can't wait for us to actually meet. We started connecting and interacting earlier this year. And, you know, for me and my wife, we've been long-term fans. And to see you just share such positive energy and insight and diving into difficult conversations, I was so drawn to that and attracted to how you were using your platform for that. And I'm so glad we get to share this space together today.
Me too. I'm so excited. And I think I've been waiting for our conversation. So just happy that it's presented itself today, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And I wanted to start because we are in the holiday season, and I do think it's always nice to celebrate and be optimistic around the things that are around us. And you recently starred in and executive produced a new movie called Merry Little Christmas. And I wanted to ask you, like, what excites you about the holiday season after so many years? Or what are you doing for the kids to make it feel special and different?
You know what? I just remember being a kid and we didn't have much, growing up. And I remember my mom and I living with my great aunts and, wanting something as simple as they were all in rocking chairs. So I asked for a red rocking chair like my Aunt Lillian. I literally wrote that to Santa and said that that's what I wanted. So when it came to Christmas, I just remember never really asking for a whole lot. I knew that we couldn't really do it. And so when I had my son, I went crazy. I went a little crazy with the presents. But I realized I've had to scale it back a bit just so he can understand how important giving is, just as much, as like we love receiving things, but how important giving is. So that was always a really big thing in my household. And then I started growing up watching all these holiday movies and how like I just wanted a piece of like all these movies like in my life. And so to be able to have those experiences and then be able to, executive produce and star in a Christmas movie is really kind of mind-blowing and just like sends me into a whole like, oh my gosh, this is awesome. So I don't take any opportunity for granted, for sure.
I love that. And I look forward to watching it. I'm really looking forward to it. Me and my wife are going to watch it together. I'm so glad that it's December now where I feel like I'm finally allowed to start watching festive movies, put the music on. And so I'm really looking forward to it. But obviously everyone's celebration is different this year. And something that you celebrated this year is that you did your baby shower virtually, I believe, which is obviously different to what you've done before. Tell us how different that was and what that experience was like now living it in this year and how you were able to do it in such a meaningful and beautiful way?
You know what? I mean, for so many of us out here, I think that when we are having these moments where we keep thinking about, I know for me, I keep thinking about the fact that we're just in our homes and we have everything we need, you know, but I can't help but to think about other people who don't have everything that they need. So what can I do? I'm not the only person having a baby, you know what I mean? Not the only person preparing for it. So if I know that's the truth, like what else can I do? And I've been doing work with baby to baby and been a baby to baby angel for a couple of years now. And just seeing firsthand what they do and what we do together as a community of women, and together as a community as well, when we have, of course, the fundraisers and everything, it's necessary. You know what I mean? The work is necessary. Essential basic needs for kids and their families is necessary. No child asked to come into this world. And when we get gifted the responsibility of a child, you know, and life happens or circumstances happen, I think that it's our job to care for each other as best as we can. And that's what we do over at Baby to Baby. And I just really wanted to do that because I literally had everything from Titan's birth. So I'm just like, I got a crib. Okay, what else can I get? And I'm just like, I'll just get it. You know what I mean? And I just wanted to do that for someone else.
I love that. I love that we haven't even been talking for like 5 minutes and all you've been talking about is giving and helping and supporting and serving. And I love that because it's just your heart and it just emanates from you. And we were speaking briefly before we started recording, and even when you came on and you said my name and you said it in a way that we knew each other, and I felt that. And I was like, you know, I love that for you. It feels like gratitude and service and giving just feel like such central pillars. Has that always been the case, or was this something you had to work on and develop, or where did that come from?
Family, faith, being in a position where I've not had everything, you know what I mean? And knowing what that felt like, wanting help and sometimes not wanting to say what it is that I needed. You know what I mean? And just watching my mom worked really hard, you know, and I had two moms growing up, you know what I mean? I had my mom, of course, who, God rest her soul, and I watched her work her butt off. And then I had B's mom, Beyonce's mom, Tina, and I watched her work. So I had these two dynamics of motherhood and women and focus and everything. And I just feel really blessed by that because they both taught me to give. And they taught me to be a cheerful giver. And I think my faith, of course, above anything, has made me a cheerful giver. But I love it. You know what I mean? It makes me feel good. From the inside, I feel like we're all here to serve a purpose and to be responsible, and that makes me feel whole. It makes me feel whole.
Yeah, I feel it. That's so beautiful. It's amazing to hear that, even though you mentioned how, you know, you started out with nothing, and that even despite how your life has changed, it seems like the thing that gives you the greatest joy is still giving and supporting and serving others, which is so beautiful. How was it growing up with two incredible role models? Because it sounds like that was such a special thing to see two women that were so powerful, professionally focused, but also able to inspire you in that way. What was that experience like?
To be honest, my relationship with my mom, even as a kid, was really interesting, to say the least. We all have those stories. But I always watched her give. I always watched her give in church, in service. And I think that like she's the one that solidified the faith giving for me. And then when it came to watching her sacrifice, I don't think I really appreciated her sacrifice, Jay, till she passed. So like I had this moment, maybe 2 or 3 years after her passing, where I said, oh my gosh, that's why she did that. You know what I mean? And I literally took this moment And I was quiet and I said a prayer and I just told her, thank you for the sacrifice. Now I get it. I know what that took. I know how hard it was. And it was so much forgiveness there. And I didn't realize how much I needed it. And it was necessary for life. So between that and then the dynamic with my Mama T, as I call her, my Mama T was just always giving. And when it came to whether it was tithing in church or like even recently, there's a young woman who's building a charity and she's doing it in a specific way that, you know, we really respect and love. And she was like, we need to really help this woman out because she just don't know what she's going to do. She explains everything. I'm like, okay, let's just get it done. You know what I mean? Like to this day, like I'm grown and I'm still getting these calls like, no, this needs to happen. And make sure you do it today, baby, because she needs to make sure that she's, you know what I mean? It's like, it's that. And after all these years, it's still like that. And it's still important. And it's even more important now because I have a child and having another child, and you are the first example.
I love what you said there, that even though you realized it was after your mother passed away of her sacrifice, that you still took that moment to express a prayer and gratitude and thanks to her even then. And I think that's such a beautiful, powerful message for all of us. If anyone who's listening or watching has lost someone this year or in the past, and obviously it's never easy, whether it was this year or any year. And I just want you to take a note from what Kelly just said, is that you can still pray, send love, send gratitude to that person, whether they're still physically present or not. And I think that's such a beautiful way to live, because I've spoken about it a couple of times about how I lost one of my greatest spiritual mentors in my life, who was like a father to me. He passed away this year after suffering from stage 4 brain cancer. So he didn't pass from COVID. And it was so hard because I couldn't go back for his funeral because of COVID. And so I couldn't actually see him before he passed away, or I couldn't obviously go to his funeral, which I really wanted to attend. And the only thing that's really helped me go through it, of course, faith, but the understanding that trying to be what he wants me to become and the qualities that he had in his heart, that keeps him alive for me, and it makes him feel very real and with me. And I think that, you know, I think what you shared there is really, really powerful and beautiful about, even though you noticed it afterwards, you were still able to connect in that way. So thank you for sharing that.
Oh, of course.
Yeah. No, I really appreciate that. I think it's going to help. I think that's going to help a lot of people this year, especially because everyone's lost something and people have lost someone. And so, you know, I think that's going to be really powerful. I want to switch to talking about your intention behind naming your children, because I think it's so beautiful and powerful. And obviously your son's called Titan Jewel, which is like, what a powerhouse name. And I wanted to understand, like, how do you see naming differently, or like your intention behind how you select names? And I'm not going to ask you to share any names or anything. Just to understand that better.
With Titan's name, I kept thinking about wanting to give him strength that I felt like I didn't have, or a strength that I felt like I was like still working on. And here's how the universe works. So my husband named him Titan. And I was like, what a great name. He's like, yeah, I think it'll be great. And then my husband's father was named, his middle name was Jewel. So Titan Jewel. And I kept thinking about, oh, he's the jewel and, you know, our crown and all this other kind of stuff. I needed to hear his name at the time when I had him. You know what I mean? Just to remind myself I was built for this. I was ready for motherhood, because I was nervous at first, you know, as you know, we all would be for parenthood, period. But I kept hearing his name, and his name was just constantly like, not just feeding my life, but feeding everything that I was doing in this weird way. I don't think I've ever spoken about this, but it just kept reminding me, you know what I mean? It was of course about his name, which I feel like he is so strong, like headstrong, physically strong, just strong, period. But he reminds his space about that everywhere that he goes. It's so interesting. But I felt like intention is really important behind our children's names, and what does it mean, and who, or if it's somebody that you even admire. I kept thinking about, well, what am I going to name this baby? You know what I mean? And wrote down so many different things. And funny enough, me and Titan, I was in Vancouver filming, and Titan was here. I wrote down one of the names, and Titan calls me and tells me that he wants to name the baby this name, and it was one of the names that I wrote down.
No way. That's amazing.
So I was like, whoa. It was so cool. So he named the baby. I was literally like, this is perfect.
I love that. And that's so interesting though, what you said there, because I didn't think about it like that when I was asking the question, and you were saying you hadn't said that before or shared that before, around how actually the way you name your kid gave you strength at a time when you needed it. And that's so powerful to think of it that way, that I'm not a parent yet. And, my wife and I look forward to when we can be and when we choose to be. But the idea of, you always think you're giving to your children, but as a mother, and as I've heard from many parents, it's like so often the kids are teaching you.
I'm honestly constantly a student. It's so interesting how like you are in this space where you're like, doesn't matter if you're the parent, they're constantly teaching you everything. I just feel like they're constantly teaching you everything. And he's made me a better person. He's made me a better woman. He's made me a better businesswoman. I just feel like he's taught me a lot about love and forgiveness. It's amazing. And marriage has too, by the way. I mean, just patience. You have no choice, but I didn't think I had any patience. No, I'm serious. I was like, this is not the first time like I felt like a real big tension. I was like, this is not gonna go well. And my only understanding of figuring things out is just to like dismiss them. Do you know what I mean? Like to not handle it or communicate it or talk it out. So communication has been the longest freaking road of my life with everything.
Give us an example of something that you think where you've seen that shift, where someone could go, oh, I see that in myself too, because I think there's a lot of people nodding right now back at home or listening and watching going, I feel that, like, so many reminders. Tell us about a shift that you experienced.
Marriage. Marriage. First of all, it was just a really big misunderstanding and between my husband and I. And I'll never forget not saying exactly that I was wrong. You know what I mean? Because I think that sometimes we sometimes hate to be the one that is inflicting pain or inflicting the misunderstanding. And you don't mean to do it, of course, but I think that life, just books, experience, relationships, they all teach you, you try to navigate your way through people as much as you can. And I think that understanding comes with understanding yourself and understanding others as well. But I do think that you have to have this level of understanding for self, like, ooh, I know that I do that. It's probably wrong. But when you see it, you have to be able to call it out. And so when I was able to call it out and I said what it was like, he kind of looked at me like, did you just do that? You know what I mean? And I'll say that I'm wrong, but this time I was like, it was one that I didn't like about myself.
Right.
It's always like that one thing you're like, oh, I wore that and that's really ugly. Like, I don't like that. And because you see it and it's really ugly, you don't like it. And it just can't possibly exist in you, but yes, it can. Yeah, it was a matter of seeing that, calling it out, and just moving forward and apologizing and having humiliation and just saying it's okay. It's just it's a
Yeah.
part of it. And, you know, moving on.
That's so interesting. It's like wearing a bad outfit and never wanting anyone to see that picture ever again, and you're like trying to hide it, and like facing it, but even more deeper. But that's so interesting what you said, that we're scared to address things when we really don't like that about ourselves, and often it comes out when. It's also we're scared because it almost feels like it's a weakness, not a strength. Like it feels like a weakness to be like, I'm wrong. I have this part of me that I want to work on, when actually that is strength, right? Like that is courage. We would encourage children to be honest with us, or we would encourage children to tell us when they feel uncomfortable with something. But yeah, we get scared of that because we see it as a weakness. And I think, I think that that's a really powerful lesson that you're sharing with us all, is that be in our relationships, and this is a little practical activity for everyone who's listening right now. This week, observe your relationship with your partner, your parent, your child, whoever it is you want, and practice what Kelly's just shared with us. Look at something where you're scared of admitting that you're wrong, and ask yourself, is it because it's something you don't like about yourself? And then reframe that as a strength, to realize that it's not a weakness. It's actually a strength to address that, because that's a really powerful takeaway.
But it's hard though, y'all. It's hard. And the truth is, it's like you may not see it at first. And sometimes it takes a while, or sometimes it takes a couple of years. And, when you do finally see it, just call it out. And it has no space it has no space in a negative way in any part of your life, because if it shows up in one place, it's going to show up everywhere else in some sort of way. And I didn't want it to do that. And I was like, oh gosh, like I didn't want it to do that.
You're right. We have to be patient with ourselves, and hopefully we've surrounded ourselves with people that are patient with us too.
Yes.
Because that's needed sometimes. I know there's plenty of things that I've got wrong in my relationship, and Radhi's been super patient with me about. And you need that. You need someone who's patient with you and allows you to figure it out while you're figuring it out. And I think sometimes we make the mistake of trying to fix the other person and change them. And it's almost like you just need to be patient while someone heals themselves.
Mm-hmm.
It's like,
that's so true.
You can't always be the one to like engineer it perfectly for them. Sometimes they just need to feel that you have patience and you're there for them.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Tell me about one of the things that you mentioned with Titan choosing, the name. It's like, so I remember, I'm an older brother to my younger sister. My younger sister's about 4.5 years old. I remember holding her since the moment she was born and like carrying her around. And she was like my favorite person in the world. She still is, but definitely when we were kids, I have really good memories of being just old enough to really interact with this. And I remember my parents, the way they prepared me was, my mom would say to me, she was like, pray for a little friend that's going to come into the world, like pray every day. And so every day for like, since they knew she was already pregnant, I was praying for, a little friend. Which ended up having to be my sister. How have you prepared Titan for what's to come? Or like, how does that work? Or how does that work?
He's really preparing me. He's really preparing me because first off, I keep thinking about the fact that I love him so much. And it's been 6? Yeah, he's 6 years old. And for this long, it's taken me to get pregnant because I was like, do I have the capacity, for 2? I was like a little nervous about that. And do I have the patience for 2? And this one day, it was like last year, I saw the way me and my husband were just doting over Titan. And it was just so much. I was like, this is just too much. I feel like it's too much. I think it's time to share some space here. You know what I mean? So... that's when we started like having the initial conversations about having another one. And Titan did a video this one day before school, and he goes, I want a baby brother. I want a baby sister. And I said, well, which one do you want? And so, you know what I mean? He says, I want a baby sister. I want a baby brother. I said, well, I'm glad that you're open to both because we don't know what's going to happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah.
As soon as we found out that we were pregnant, we waited a while till I had like a little bump. And we finally sat him down and told him. And his reaction, which I do want to share on Instagram because it's really sweet. He was so delighted to share his space and excited because this is what got me. And it just broke me. He goes, I won't be lonely anymore. He felt like when he goes, like he's still in the bed with us. He's still sleeping with us because he likes the connection. And so he puts his hand like right underneath my armpit here or behind my back because he just likes touch. You know what I mean? And I realize like we are a very affectionate family. Like we hug and we snuggle and we kiss and we this and we that. Like that's just who we are. And he said all of his friends have siblings, except for like maybe 2. But he always watches them. And then when one of the kids leaves their siblings, he goes and like eases his way in there. So like one of his friends, Berkeley has a baby brother. And he's like, hi, Lennon. Hi, like escorts Lennon all around the house. He does the same thing with another friend, Celine, and her baby sister, Kaya. They're all like, he wants to take them all around and show them stuff. And I was like, it's time.
I love that. That's awesome. That's so cool. It's nice to hear that because I know what it was like for me. So I'm excited for him. And yeah, I'm excited for him, and it's going to be a fun journey. My younger sister's like still my best friend, and it's such a special bond when you do feel that excitement around sharing your space with another being and seeing someone grow up and almost feeling somewhat like a parent to them too. In that sense, and it's a fun experience. So we're going to come to you for tips on parenting and everything when we get around to it.
Okay.
I want to switch to talking a bit about the amount of conversation you've been leading and sharing in mental health and community, because I think that it's something that's so integral to people's daily lives, and now people are becoming a bit more open and communities are starting to destigmatize the conversation, and communities that have struggled with it in the past. I know that from my own experience, the South Asian communities massively struggled with it and
Black
being open and honest about
it.
And I've heard the same about the Black community too. And so, it's interesting when you started to share messages, I was wondering what tools have you gained from therapy over the years that you feel helped you this year? Were there specific practices or insights or ideas that you really felt were useful this year or any challenging year, even if it's not this year, if there have been any other challenging years in your life where you found therapy to be most useful?
Someone told me before, like, don't wait to go to therapy when there's something wrong, just go. And I would go when there was something wrong. And so by the time I got there, I was just think of a ball of yarn, you know what I mean? But it was a big ball of yarn. So you're having to like undo all of this stuff from so many years. And I think that people think that if you go in one time, even 5 times, that if everything's going to be okay. That's not the way it goes, because I feel like you have to unravel all of this stuff to whatever is at the base, the nucleus of whatever that trauma or void or whatever that is. And it takes a while. And it's been a couple things in my life where I just was wondering why I was going through this same thing over and over and over and over again. And so I finally got a chance to talk to someone who actually became, I feel like he's a soulmate almost, my friend Joe Bolduc. And he has this beautiful Facebook space called Speak to Understand or Speaking to Understand. And we would talk so openly to where it's almost like what I was saying was he would finish my sentence. And I was like, oh my God, I'm so happy. I finally have somebody who is like understanding what I'm saying. And I don't feel, I'm going to use the word crazy. I don't feel crazy. I don't feel misunderstood. I feel like I'm being heard. And for me, that's what therapy is. I feel like I'm being heard. I feel like I'm communicating everything out. I feel like I'm getting everything out. So by the time I leave, I've literally had a moment where I've left a therapy session and physically felt like I could have skipped a step. You know what I mean? Because I felt lighter. And I didn't realize in that space or time how much unforgiveness I was holding on to. And it was for a lot of people. And then I was realizing how self-critical I was and how all of that was connected. And it was just crazy. You know what I mean? When you start to figure everything out. And so I'm figuring it all out and noticing how things are connected and how one has to cancel out the other. If you don't get past this one, and this will keep you stuck. And I was like, oh, you know what I mean? So it's so much to learn. And then before I had Titan, I was like, well, I want to get all this stuff out before I have children. How is that possible? Because every day every day you're going to go through something new and something else is going to come up. And it's just something else to get past, you know? And I think that there's nothing wrong with that because that's just what life is. And that's the beauty of it. Although it is a challenge, but it's still the beauty of it because you should be able at the end of the day to give yourself some credit. And we are truly our greatest competitors, our greatest critique. And I did that for a long time. And sometimes it still surfaces and I still do that to myself. And it just becomes too toxic. And then you realize how layered that is.
What do you think is the greatest challenge you've overcome personally, internally or externally? What if you had to be like, this is the challenge that made me realize how strong I was and how critical I didn't want to be of myself, and where I realized that, you know, this was all just layers and conditioning, but actually underneath all of that, there was this powerful, strong, important being that cared and that was loving. What would you say that was? What do you think that was?
Definitely the self-critical part. The self-critical part and constantly talking myself out of stuff.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, talking myself subconsciously too. Like I talk myself out of stuff. And that, what I realized was all like stuff in the past. And when I was able to talk about it, it was like, this is why, you know, and I remember what I did. What do you call the tapping sessions?
Yeah, tapping.
And the more I was doing this tapping, but I thought it didn't work. But it came out one day and I literally had a space where I smelled, saw, and felt the space that I was in when the trauma was planted.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and I was in a session and I'll never forget, I remembered what that space was and it was going in, although I'm sure a lot of people will think this Kelly it sounds crazy. But it's not, because your body holds that kind of stuff. And it remembers it. There's this book that I still have to read called The Body Keeps the Score, I believe.
Yes, yeah.
And the body kept that score for sure for 30 plus years. And I had to get past that.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, makes you so conscious in being a parent, because you're like, oh my God, I can't say that to him like this, because if I do, what if it, you know what I mean? Being a parent was a good thing and a bad thing for me because I'm just thinking too much. You know what I mean? My husband is like, no, babe, it's just a no. Just say no. it's okay, just say no and then move on. And I'm like, but I don't want to say no to this because what if he thinks that He was like, no essays, just chill. So it's that.
And that's hard. Like, that's hard because you're right that the body does keep a score, and we do hold on to these impressions in our mind and our subconscious. And as you mentioned, trauma as well. And trauma also, I think people misunderstand that. They feel trauma means something very physical or something that's very externally abusive, which it can be. But sometimes trauma can come from just how someone perceives something. Mm-hmm. Like it may not actually, we may not feel it to be trauma, but because it had a deeper resonance with that person and they interpreted it to be traumatic or tragic, they could actually hold on to it for a lot longer. So you are right that being conscious with your children, etc., is powerful. But you're also right that there's the other side where there's this book called Anti-Fragile, and it's a term called anti-fragility. And it's the understanding of like, it's like that balance between, and it's not like tough love or it's not like that. It's the balance between being caring and conscious, but then recognizing that everyone has their own experience as well that they need to grow from. Whereas sometimes if you try and master someone's experience too perfectly, they actually just become fragile because, it's like they've never experienced any sort of, your muscles only get resilient when they get stressed and pressurized and pushed a bit. So
you sound like Tim. My husband says the same thing. He's like, he has to go through that, or he has to hear that, or you know what I mean? It's always, I'm trying to sometimes save him from something.
Yeah.
And Tim is like, no, he has to go through it.
I think the combination is good. I think the middle ground is good. I think it will be the same with my relationship. My wife will be like you. That's definitely how she sees it. And I think I'm going to be like your husband. Like but I think the combination's good because I think we do need a bit of both. I think all of us would say, oh, we wish we were saved from this, or, taken care of from this in our lives. And I think all of us will say, oh, I wish I got to like try this, or, we're always going to have that. So,
but I'm happy. I will say, like, a lot of people will have regrets for certain things, and it's like maybe one thing that I have like a regret over, but everything else molded me and made me into the woman that I am today, that I'm very proud to be. And I still feel like I'm a student. Like I said about being in motherhood and marriage, I still feel like a student. I still feel like I'm learning. And I'm grateful to have people around to help me to navigate my way through that.
Yeah, no, I definitely get that. And I think ultimately all of us have to find that narrative, that what we've been through, because it is just a perception change, but it's when you find that narrative, when you can really look back at your life and be like, I know exactly why I went through that. And I know exactly why that pain came into my life. And as soon as you do that, you start to retell your story to yourself in a different way.
And it's so beautiful.
And it's so beautiful. Yeah, it's so beautiful. And I've seen some people who've gone through some really horrific things do that. And when I've seen them do it, it's given me more confidence that if they can do it in the crazy lives that they've had and the stuff they've been through, which is much worse than mine, then that makes sense.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I think there's a lot of goodness in that, recreating our own narrative and story and picking apart our lives and trying to find meaning in it. And one thing I heard you say is that you formed a Chico system. Which I loved, which I think is a big part of this, because I think it's hard to reframe your story without having a Chico system and having a group of powerful friends and people around you. Tell us a bit about how you came to that understanding and started seeing it as creating this supportive ecosystem of other women and just also other people.
I mean, my Chico system started... When did it start? I mean, at 10, you know what I mean? When I first started being around the first little versions of Destiny's Child. You know what I mean? And it was understanding girls at that time, growing up in space and boundaries and advice and love, being able to loyalty, trust, being able to give it as well as receive it. Can I receive it? And am I, you know what I mean? It was so much to learn, but I think that it's the greatest blessing of my life, because my Chico system still is quite intimate, but it grows, you know, every now and then. I literally will look up at God like, please, this is it. I don't want no more friends. It's like, this is already enough. But then you'll meet someone and you realize that sometimes they need a Chico system. So it's been times where that's happened, and someone will come in and they'll learn about, you know, how important we need each other as women. And I feel like I have the best Chico system in the world. I really, really do. I have like all the elements that fill me, and I'm so grateful for and so grateful to have. So I love my Chico system.
I love that. What are some of the, tell us some of the, if someone's listening or watching right now and they're like, I love that idea, I need to go build my Chico system. Tell us some of the like unwritten rules or principles or like ideas behind developing one. So if someone's listening going, you know, I really want to do that, what are some of the rules that they can follow, or some of the ideas that helped you kind of figure out, like what you just said is so awesome. Like, oh, actually, I realized I may not want more people, but this person needs someone. So what were some of those ideas that helped build that?
I said going off of your gut and your heart, for sure. I'd also say not judging each other so harshly. I find that sometimes as women, we are most hard on each other because I think subconsciously we're looking at another woman and seeing ourselves or being competitive by accident. Because I think that's just the way society has done for so long. And it's been a part of a control as well. So we have to start undoing that, because sometimes the relationship is bigger than you, if that makes any sense. You guys learn so much from each other. Yeah. So I think that not judging each other so harshly in it, or like dismissing, like once, I mean, there are some ground rules, we all know that, but not dismissing immediately to where it's just like this person can never win. Yeah. You know, and that's really harsh because I've done it before. I'm guilty of it for sure. And I have just like let someone go, and then when I needed them, I called them back, and that's not cool either. So I feel like it should be a give and take in the relationship. And sometimes there are going to be moments in any relationship where that other person may need you at that time more than you need them, and you find the balance of that. And sometimes you may need them more than they need you. You find the balance, and you have some of those relationships where it doesn't take a lot. Like I have a girlfriend in Houston. We don't even have to speak every day. We probably speak every couple weeks or every month or every 6 months, or, oh my God, I can't believe like a year's roll by. We pick up exactly where we left off. You know what I mean? But she's a person that I constantly want to hear from and laugh with, and we have the best time. And I just feel like those are necessary too. So, you know, it's just about being respectful and being kind.
Yeah, always the basics. You speaking about being dismissive and judging harshly, you spoke up. I remember you shared this, and I remember sharing it too from you. You spoke up about like cancel culture and against cancel culture, because you strongly believed in this idea of not judging people harshly and not just dismissing them. And it wasn't that you weren't saying to keep people accountable, or I remember you explaining like you value accountability and you value conversation, but not cancel culture. Can you explain that to us? Because I think I agreed with you so strongly on that. And I thought you explained it really well. And obviously people still find ways to make it not make sense. But I want you to have an opportunity to really explain that so that people can be like, yeah, I identify with that. I understand what that means.
For me, when I was talking about cancel culture, there were elements of it that I didn't understand too. Like, being completely transparent. So I respect when people come onto my page or my space, as I say, my space, and are able to articulate intelligently what they want to say to correct me. I don't mind being corrected, of course, at all. But it's a way to say it to where we're trying to understand each other, not trying to bash each other, because ain't nobody got time for that. Like, life is too short. It's just ridiculous. So when there were a couple people who were so beautifully and articulately like saying, Kelly, this is the difference. And I was like, okay, I got it. And I understand, like, people should be held accountable of their actions. But when we start to seep judgment in there and we can't look at ourselves the rest of the way, like, it's a problem. To me, it's a problem, because I think that we've all seen ourselves in a way where we have this humiliation. You know what I mean? Like, and what does that feel like? You know what I mean? Like, to stand in humiliation is a really tough place to be. And it's not to say that they're right, not to say that we're right, not to say that they're just so wrong, not to say that we're so wrong. It's just not judging. You know what I mean? It's just not judging. Just making sure that judgment isn't caught in between there, because I feel like I'm human. I mess up all the time, and I'm not perfect. And I am not going to get it right every single time. And there'll be something that you'll just like find about me where you're like, I don't like that. And do you write me off? Should I never, you know what I mean? Should I never be, brought up or heard of or whatever again? Like, you know what I mean? Should I stop talking to you? How do I help you get out of it? Even. And some people will completely disagree with me when I say this, but I feel like, when you do live under a microscope for so long, instead of doing this so much, I always feel like, how would I feel like to be on the other side of that? And I don't like it. I don't like it. And I feel like we can't do that to each other, but I know what the root of that is. I know what the root of that is. And I know that the root of it is the self-awareness. And, we judge ourselves harshly. We judge ourselves so harshly. We don't mean to, but somewhere in life or somewhere it's there, you know what I mean? And growing up and in our journey, our own journey, somebody did that to us. And how do we undo that? I don't think that we make somebody else feel like garbage because they're wrapped up in their trauma and they can't find their way out of it. I have so much, it makes me want to cry, but I have so much compassion when it comes to that. And it's necessary. Kindness is necessary. You know what I mean? I really want that tattoo or just on my forehead somewhere. I just want to always remind people that kindness is necessary. We need it. And especially now when we saw a country divided, greatly divided. And even though someone has different beliefs or ideas of what things should look like, they have their right or whatever of what it looks like. I don't necessarily agree, but I'm not going to hate you for it.
That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. You've reminded me of, I've read this today. I want to share it. It's by a writer named Russell Barkley. And he said, the children who need love the most will always ask for it in the most unloving ways. Russell Barkley. So I'll read it again. The children who need love the most will always ask for it in the most unloving ways.
Because you don't know how.
Yeah.
If it was never there, how do you ask for it? How do you receive it? How do you give it? Like, there's no rules on it.
Exactly. And so, and that's what you just said. That's it. Like, it's, that's why kindness, as you said, kindness is necessary, because it's needed both ways. To both the person we think that's doing the hating and the person receiving it too. It's such an important lesson. Let's talk about some of the amazing music you put out this year. I've been watching your videos too, and they are epic. Like I just saw the Hitman one, like, you know, just literally just before we did this, and I was just like, oh, there's such a great video. I want to hear, for someone who's made music for so long, like, how has your purpose and then secondary, your creative process behind music transformed? Because there's very few people on the planet that have made music for as long as you have. And there's something to be said for that. Like, you know, it's just, it's phenomenal to think of your full journey and to think of that whole growth phase. I want to hear how your process and how your purpose has grown behind the scenes.
I mean, I just came into the industry just loving music, period. But I'd say like the process, the past, since 2011, I'd say, has been, what do I like? What do I want to do? What like really like makes me excited and fulfills me and this, but really when, once again, that Titan, because I wanted him to see me be authentic. And I felt like there were times in my life where like I was kind of like maybe folding or bending sometimes according to the industry and where it was and what was popular and this and that. And I just finally got to a place where I was like, I'm gonna do whatever I want to do. And I did. And when I started to do that, I noticed things happen differently. And of course, like places in between there, I would doubt myself, but then it would always do something really cool or great, or somebody would be like, yo, this is the best such and such you've ever made. Or, you know, it would have all these like number ones in different countries or whatever. Like I was like, oh, okay, good. This is working. Yay. You know, it was really that when before the process was kind of calculated in my head, or I wouldn't say calculated as much as I was like, so much thinking about, well, what do you think? What do you think? What do you think? What do you think? And it was, what do you think? So I like what I think. I like what I have to say.
I love how Titan has been like the theme of each of these revelations, because it's right. Yeah, you want him to see his mother being herself, so that he feels permission to be himself. And you're so right that, you know, all of us in so many different ways, and we don't have to be in the public eye to not be ourselves. So many of us in our own lives have played so many roles where we haven't been ourselves.
Yo, let me tell you about social media. Yo, I as much as I love it, I'm watching like, and we've all heard the conversation. It's no reason to even like get into it. Like I just want people to be their most beautiful, authentic selves. Like I have fun with filters, but you're not gonna see me with it. You know what I mean? Like let's see you. I want to see you. I want to hear you. Like, yeah, you know?
Yeah. And I think it's scary because you're so right. It's scary because we don't see it a lot.
Yeah.
And therefore you don't see it being liked. And then you go, oh, okay. So if I do that, then it won't be liked either. And so it's kind of like this vicious cycle that it keeps going round and round because we don't see it around us. So we don't be it. And then, you know, it just keeps
spiraling,
just keeps escalating. Yeah. And amplifying. So yeah, I think that's another powerful way of hoping that that's how your music changed. How do you think your music's changed from the perspective of it's, I guess that purpose element of that impact behind how you want it to make people feel is that also this?
It's feeling for me. Like, I just remember like the first times of me listening to music, how it made me feel. Like, and when I'm having a good time with my friends, when we could have like, you know, get-togethers and stuff like that, like, what is this music making me feel like? You know, like I remember being at a party 2 years ago, and it was, oh my God, it was such a good night. And I'd heard Coffee spin. And so he was spinning, and I'm on the dance floor, And my eyes were closed for at least 5 minutes. And I was on my second glass of champagne, but it was more so like I was just lost in the music and it felt so good. I opened my eyes back up and it was everybody on the dance floor. You know what I mean? And so when I opened up my eyes, it was so funny because someone came up to me. They were like, yo, you made it look like it was like magic out here. I had to come in. And I was like, that's dope. Like, because I feel like, you know, music is that infectious. And I was like, I want that. I want it to where it feels like that. And so the moment I heard Hitman, specifically the track, I was just like, I was moved. I was like, oh my God. Like, I just got so excited. And then the songwriter, Sam Deuce, started like just killing this melody. And I was like, oh my God. And it just kept feeling better and better. And it just became this cyclone just of like goodness and good feeling and vibrations. And I just couldn't help myself. I was like, let me hear my Hitman. It just started bouncing off the walls. You can feel it. And I wanted that. And I'm so happy that I got that. And I got that with every song off the record this time. And I'm very proud of that.
Yeah, I love that. And you can feel that energy on the track when someone's in love with what they're creating. And then that way everyone else feels it too. And so I love that you're doing that. And I love that that's the, you know, not that you've always done it, but that I love that you're even more intentionally and consciously doing it now, and inspired to see where it goes. So we end every interview, Kelly, with a final 5, which is a fast 5. So the answers have to be 1 word or 1 sentence maximum.
Okay. You know I'm long-winded, Jay, but okay, let's go.
I know. You've been great. So I will probably ruin this and ask you to give longer answers because that's what I do when I fall in love with an answer someone gives. So here are your final 5.
Okay. So
what is something you learned about yourself this year that you didn't know before?
I'm very, very smart.
Awesome. I love it. What is your source for feeling powerful and abundant?
My faith. And family.
And family. Yeah. Okay. 3rd question. What's one thing that you are really sure about, but that sometimes people disagree with you on? Judgment. You've done really well, by the way. This is like really short, concise, precise answers. All right. Question number 4. If you could make one law that everyone in the world had to follow, what would it be?
Ooh, that's a good question. Okay. A law that everyone in the world had to follow, what would it be? To lead with kindness.
Love that. Beautiful. I look forward to that being a real law. And 5th and final question, what's your prayer, your hope for everyone in 2021?
Oh, my hope or prayer for everyone in 2021 would be to have joy somewhere in their lives. Because we all need it.
Absolutely. Thank you, Kelly. That was absolutely beautiful. You're amazing. And I'm so grateful to have shared this time and space with you. I've followed you for years, but to feel your energy through a screen, like I have felt like your energy is so genuine and so real that you can feel it through a screen.
Oh, thank you.
And spending this time with you has been so wonderful. I've been laughing and smiling the whole time we've been talking. And we've talked about some really deep and meaningful things, and we've talked about, some profound topics, and like I've just been beaming this whole time thanks to you. So I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for taking the time to do this.
Oh, thank you.
And I want to ask you, as I always ask, is there anything that's on your mind right now that you feel like, Jay, I have to share this, or I'm thinking about something that I didn't say? If there is, then please share it. I'd love to hear it.
I literally feel like we touched on so many different things, especially now. But like when you said what's something I want people to have in 2021, I feel like we had so many things taken away from us in 2020. And, it's so funny because we went into 2020 like, this is perfect vision and this and this and that. And then it's like, wait a minute. Like, we feel like the rug was like snatched right from underneath us. And it's like, so much has happened. And I just really pray, my hope and my prayers for people to like really like on all the places that we felt like even more lost on, and something was taken away from us on in 2020, like that it's restored with joy. Like it's restored with joy in whatever kind of way it could possibly be. I feel like we all deserve some sort of joy.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much, everyone. I hope you enjoyed listening to this episode. Please share your favorite parts on Instagram and tag me and Kelly in, because I love seeing what resonated with you, what connected with you. And we'll be back again next week. But I want to say a big, big thank you to Kelly. Go and check out all her latest music and the movie, which I can't wait to watch, with Radhi, Merry Little Christmas. And Kelly, I look forward to meeting you. I look forward to meeting Titan and your husband. And I'm eagerly awaiting that moment. So, but thank you from the bottom of my heart. And I hope you have an amazing holiday season. And I look forward to seeing you in 2021.
You as well. Thank you so much. And tell your wife I know how to drink water because of her.
I will tell her that. I will tell her that. She'll be really excited to know that you saw that video. So I'll tell her that. I love that. Thanks, Kelly. Thank you so much. This was wonderful. This was amazing. Thank you.
Thank you. I feel the same. Trust me.
Hey everyone, my name's Jay Shetty and welcome to my YouTube channel. Every week I'm sharing 3 videos that are going to help you feel more fulfilled, feel more happy, and more successful. Make sure you subscribe to this channel so that you can find out about the videos as soon as they launch. Press the like button and leave a comment, and let's keep making wisdom go viral together. Make sure you subscribe.
Designing a life in such a way that everything that you do and every decision you make is either leading towards your legacy, your lifestyle, or your happiness, and then making sure that you don't ever do anything other than what supports that.
Hey everyone, thank you so much for coming back to the show. Today's guest is a school dropout turned pro skateboarder, turned TV host, turned entrepreneur, whose incredible businesses span everything from food to shoes to real estate and entertainment. You'll know him as the host of MTV's Ridiculousness and also the founder of Dear Deck Machine. I'm so excited to introduce you to Rob Dyrdek. Rob, thank you so much for coming on to the show.
Thank you. I mean, when we run through it in that order, you know what I mean? It's like, he dropped out, professional skateboard, TV, like it always, when I'm always reminded of the path through sort of those big buckets, it's always so funny to me to think of like where I've arrived, you know?
Yeah, you've reinvented and recreated yourself so many times in a positive sense.
Yeah, or just relentlessly evolved, right? It's almost like you constantly evolve at such a pace. I'd even say, even when I look at interviews, if I do an interview every 6 to 8 months, like I just, I think back to our buddy Lewis Howell's School of Greatness that I did to really kind of set off doing podcast interviews. And I think about how much I grew in the 2 years in between that. It's so remarkable. So I'm almost using these type of interviews as these sort of markers of the elevation that I'm doing every 6 to 8 months.
I love that, man. That's such a beautiful way of looking at podcasts.
Yeah.
Bit of self-reflection.
Because it's also the only place you can have like a real conversation. You know,
yeah.
That's a little bit deeper, rather than when I do a TV interview or something to promote one of the shows. It's like, tell us about the funniest video you got on there. Oh, wow. It's a guy that slides underneath a semi-truck and gets ran over, but pops up and says, oh my God, I didn't die. It's like something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that was the whole purpose of this podcast. My whole goal was, how can I let incredible people like you have open conversations, allow you to share from a different side of yourself that you don't always get to share, give people a moment, a space to bring themselves from a more belief point of view, philosophies, views, ideas, things that drive you, motivate you. But I remember the first time we met, which funnily enough, we were both saying is the only time we've met, even though I feel like I've been watching you as well. I consume your content all the time, which is awesome. But the first time we met, we were together because of pig out chips and pig out bacon. And I found out that you're not vegan, but you love pigs, which I thought was pretty cool. I love that. But yeah, explain to me how you got involved in pig out chips. Let's start there.
I think it was really sort of my evolved sort of way of creating and investing in businesses. I think one of the big things that I really look at is that sort of do or dyer, as I describe it, entrepreneur, founder, right? And that was Bill Glazer, and like what he really had is a very unique skill set. And then when I run through my principles, when I look at opportunity, it's do or die founder, leadership team. It's white space, clear path to liquidity, and unfair advantages, right? Is sort of what I try to run through the filter. And the thing about the product itself, we already know that sort of the vegan market and plant-based products are really sort of evolving. But it was like when I tasted it for the first time, I was like, oh my God, this is like a revolution. This is bigger than just like, you know, and it was called Fresh Soul at the time. And I was like, man, like this is like an entire category. This is like meat chips. You know what I mean? Like this is something so much more unique and it's entirely own vertical, right? And as I decided to invest with them, we went through sort of this unusual process, right? Like where for me, everything is validated through a financial model, right? And he had created one of the most beautiful tactical models on how he would grow the business, door for door, SKU for SKU, margin for margin, like just the beauty of who you want to be in business with, right? And it's very rare that you have a creative mind, an operational mind, and a financial mind that's running a business. But what's missing was it was called Fresh Soul, right? And I'm like, man, it's like, I'm like, you have this super unique product and this entire space is like Hampton Creek, Beyond Meat. Like it's all this soft, like that's what you expect. There's an opportunity to be louder and more aggressive in this space. And you know, I was, you know, texting him and hitting him with like vigilante and like trying to think of like all these different sort of names or ideas. And he called me and said, I think I got an idea, man. What do you think about Pig Out? And I was like, oh, whoa, that's aggressive. That's a little too aggressive, I think, you know? And as I really started thinking about it, and then as he was like, you know, like no pig and it's all bacon products, I'm like, oh God, it's sticky, man. It's sticky. And then, you know, because what we were struggling with is like, are you like an honest co? Are you a craft? Like, do you have multiple verticals of products? Like, and the beauty of it is it landed on this sort of idea of Pig Out and then outstanding foods, because taste will always be at the top of the pyramid, right? And I think at that point, that creative process together and that sort of evolution of ideation to go along with how smart he was and how clear he understood the business and the authenticity of Chef Dave and the creation of the product and both 25-year vegans. Despite not being a vegan, I was like, man, this is just an absolute home run, you know, and I came on at a very significant level, right?
Yeah,
so that
absolutely.
we would really become true partners, almost co-founders, if you will, in this completely evolved version of the business. And, you know, I think even a testimony to even Bill is finding someone like you, right? Of just like, hey, like you create this deeply viral content of like, he's just constantly evolving and getting in front of so many different layers of people, from manufacturing to financial support to creative support to different ways to continue to evolve and push the brand pre-revenue to such a high level. You
Absolutely.
know? So it's the shining star. If I have 20 different portfolio companies right now that I've all 17 of which I built over the last 2 years, it's the shining star of what the archetype is, especially when you layer it against the principles, right? And the unfair advantages, distribution relationships, ton of influencer investors, like, you know, great clear path to acquisition long-term or going public based off of sort of the growth of the market. It really not only meets my 4 core principles, but at the top of the pyramid, he is who I hope to be in business with in every single venture that I do going forward.
That's beautiful, man. I love Bill. Bill, big shout out to you. We love you.
Yeah. Okay. Bill, you You've heard it before, but now you've got it on Jay's podcast.
Yeah, exactly. And I love Pig Out Chips too, man. It's a great product for sure. And I love the name. I didn't know that story.
Yeah,
I love that
crazy.
story. That's such a great story.
And I think even like I texted him like the pig face and the out symbol, which led to like, man, we should make, when we were branding it, it was like, nah, like we should like underline the out, put the line through the out, and we need to make our Tony the Tiger, like make like a streetwear sort of like cause like pig character, which even led to creating even the actual pig character. And one of the early things that I loved was it was this joke that Bill had of the pig character being like, finally bacon I can eat, right? And I just thought, that pigs love mushrooms, and I just love this. It's super edgy. It'll be super controversial. And, you know, we wrote on it, right? It says it on the package, a little pig has a little bubble. It says, finally bacon I can eat. And we took it so far that we posted a video of a pig eating it, and I posted it. This is great. And people just annihilated me. And like, I was like, man, like I fundamentally like was so wrapped up in how funny and great the idea was. It was like, would you eat human tasting chips? Right? Like and it was like a last second change where, you know, it affected me enough where I didn't really tell him. We talked about it a little bit, but weeks went by, and then right as we were about to go into production, I just had a panic call. I said, look, we got to take it off the bag. Like it's going to be permanent. Now it's going to be on every single shelf. It's one thing to like delete a social media post, but if it's like finally bacon I can eat on a bag, it could be a lot more problematic than it is good for us, and changed it at the last second. And I know we weren't going business, but I thought I was going to share another insight for you.
Do it. I love it. And I'm not against the business. I want to talk about business from you because I see the way you talk about business is philosophical.
Yeah.
Like the way you see business is philosophical.
Because it's like an absolute deep life passion and life mastery. So you love it so much. And as someone that just engages with people's passions, regardless of whatever it is, I think it's contagious for anybody that's from that sort of mindset.
Absolutely,
you know?
man.
And it is. It's like, even for me, it's the creation of it is what I love so much, you know?
Yeah.
And even to the point where I just no longer even invest in people's ideas. Like, if I can't help shape it, if I can't push you and then you hit me with pig out, it's like, wow. If I can't go through that crazy process, and then then it's like, here's the bag color, like, well, here's the bag, it's like, what? Like, every time, the greatest thrill in the world is a conversation about an idea to where it's finally in market and sold to someone, right? And the entire process of that, right? And I don't like to operate businesses, right? I don't like to run them. I like to be in the creation side and built my system to make sure that I live in that stage. That's the birthing stage and the shaping. And then I create systems to ensure that it goes on and finds success, because it's only fun when it works, right? Because you're so excited in that early stage, and you get it to market and you can't find the consumer. Nobody wants it. Like, now you're trying to mess with pricing strategy. Was our messaging wrong? Like that they call it the valley of death in business. And I like to refer to myself as a Sherpa through the valley of death. And it is such it's so fun till you get to market, and then now you have to fight for your life to become a real business, right? And it's also thrilling from afar. That's why I love to help create, finance, and then advise, because being in the trenches takes a lot of like heart, blood, sweat, and tears to actually make something come alive and really work. And so I love advising that to 20 different people. And then if you can imagine, you have all this incredible experience that you can help share, and all these different unique things that can support each of them that you learn from other ones, and which allows you to be an even better Sherpa, if you will, in those more critical times of what it takes to find growth, you know.
And Rob dropped out of school at 16.
Right.
That is crazy, man. Like when you dropped out, like now when I hear you speak, it's like you got an MBA, like, you know, it's your understanding of business is even deeper than that because it's practical, it's tested, it's experimented. But when you dropped out at 16, see, now it's become somewhat of a trend to talk about dropping out, being an entrepreneur, not having to go to college. When you did it, it wasn't cool. Like it wasn't the in thing to do, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Were you scared?
Were
you excited?
It was different circumstances because I was gifted with deep belief, right? So it wasn't like, going to school was just problematic for my path, right? So I didn't look at it like, am I taking some sort of risk? I was also raised by entrepreneurs. Like everyone around me started companies, every single person. It's why I quit school at 16 and started my first company, built it soup to nuts, conceptualized the entire concept, put together the entire product line, the entire team. It was a skateboard truck team, and hand drew the logo. I was reading this book, The Orion Prophecies, and created the Orion trucks, you know, this part of the skateboard, and launched that at 18. Right, so that was the beginning of the process. So I never looked at it as, am I taking a leap of faith and taking some big risk? I looked at it as, I grew up with entrepreneurs. Everyone around me started companies. I'm gonna quit school and start a company. Didn't even occur to me any other way. And I also was offered to become a professional skateboarder at the time, despite the fact that you didn't make any money doing it, right? It was still like, after 6 months, they guaranteed me $1,000 a month if I moved to California. And I was like, yeah, I'm moving, let's go, right? Like to me, it's like, cause I would get $200 check, a $300 check, $600, cause I'd only get paid off board sales. Yeah. And, you know, in that year in December, before I moved to California, I sold one board and got a $2 check, right? So you getting guaranteed $1,000 was just like, you might as well have hit the lottery back then, you know? Yeah. So
life-changing.
And again, blessed with belief, just blessed with a self-belief and very little doubt, and everything you chased, you achieved, which then built the foundation even further. Which has always been, you know, something that is the gift that I know is the greatest gift that I actually have, because it really is like being an athlete or any other sort of mastery or experiencing you're developed, but it's the most powerful because it's the core of everything that you ultimately choose to do in your life, you know. And that to me is what I'm most thankful for from that era. And fortunately, you jumped off, did a bunch of things, and they worked, and all it does is reinforce that, right? Like, very few times have I been faced with like a deep failure that wasn't a deeply clear lesson that was a part of growth, right? There's no missing elements inside, and none devastating enough that made me question my abilities or whether or not I would eventually find the success that I sought inside, you know.
That's a huge blessing, man. How does everyone get that blessing? Can they?
I would say in self-reflection, it's a very unusual point of view to have introspect about growth, right? And how can I share and how can you learn from someone who has the hardest thing to actually evolve within yourself, that most people have to create it over time rather than refine it over time. And it kind of puts me in this place of where a lot of times when I do podcasts or conversations or interviews for events or whatnot, always feel somewhat unrelatable because of that sort of core nature is already a great advantage in chasing dreams in the first place, you know, and I can't tell you through experience how to build it. I can just tell you what I've done with it to optimize it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
which is much different.
Thank you for the honesty, man. Yeah, it's good to hear that honesty. It's good to hear that.
It's a weird, like,
I get it.
I almost feel guilty at times.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? When you're like, God,
it.
you're so happy. I'm like, look, man, I'm so lucky. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I get to now try to be this like extraordinary version of myself because I'm not trying to like rebuild then build, right? Like it's a you know, I'm a little sheepish about it, but it's
own
it's
it, man.
The truth,
own
man.
It.
It's
own
the
it.
truth.
Own it. It's awesome. I love it. I in my teens, I felt I uncovered the ability to follow my intuition very closely.
Yeah.
So when I probably around the same time that you're speaking about, when I was 16, I felt like I really started listening to my inner voice, and now my inner voice is so loud that I don't know what else to follow.
Yeah.
And so all the decisions I've made, whether they've been big risks externally or big risks how other people see them, for me, it's been easy because that voice has just been so loud.
Yeah.
And the other voice, which is trying to block me or stop me or fearful, I can barely hear it.
Yeah.
And it's only got louder and louder and louder.
Yeah.
And you're right, it's an unfair advantage.
And look, and I would argue I walk that same side too, right? Where the intuition, consistency, right? Where you, your gut tells you a certain way, you're patient, then it happens, is another massive, massive cornerstone to this level that I've reached. Because now you believe so much in your ability to manage what's happening inside the universe that you don't control. But having clarity on what you want the outcome to be, and then being patient as you're kicked around each thing that gets you there, which is also another massive skill set that's hard to teach, that like you're saying, when you're gifted with it, is a great advantage on pursuing dreams, but also pursuing happiness, right? And being able to navigate through the unknown with just feeling is incredibly difficult as well. You know?
But I like what you said. You grounded it in self-reflection, and self-observation is a great place to start.
Yeah.
Like that's a great place to start, just building that
Yeah,
dialogue.
it's a part of it, right? Because
Yeah.
at the end of the day, you're just mastering yourself.
Yes.
You know, and you're just trying to master yourself, your world, everything that actually means the most to you and what you need for energy and what takes energy from you. It's just different for everybody, right? And people that listen to podcasts or into personal development or growth, you're really just trying to take little nuggets that you can apply to mastering yourself and your own world that ultimately leads to fulfillment, purpose, and happiness.
Yeah, absolutely. Tell us about some of your core principles and cornerstones, and more importantly, how did you create those? Like, where did they evolve from?
Yeah, and look, to me, it's being tuned in with energy, right? And it's very much more to do with feeling light, right? There's just that when your existence is really based around you get up every day and you're just like a fire's lit based off of all you get to do, right? And there's no aspect of your existence that pulls against you, but all of it, I would even argue, rather than pushes you, just lightens you, right? And I think for me, it was the discovery of that in my late 30s and the pursuit of getting as light as possible and really going deep into having a greater understanding of what are the things that are missing from really getting you to this deeper place of lightness, if you will, to where everything around you is energy. And I went through a process, right, of I found that it became incredibly binary, right? It was either you looked at something in a negative way or a positive way. So I would just track all aspects of my life every single day 0 to 10, how I felt about my life, health, and work. And by doing it every day, like you just end up like just having a data point, you just begin to see all the things that are so clear that are taking away from you. And then I just began to clear all of them. And it probably took 3 years to really do. And then now, I don't compromise them, right? I recently spent some time with the great Clinton Sparks, who has this incredible concept of defending happy, right? Where he's like, man, I've just never heard anybody who's so committed defending happy the way you are. And I never really quite looked at it like that, but that's actually the clear perspective and sort of what I've evolved into, where designing a life in such a way that everything that you do and every decision you make is either leading towards your legacy, your lifestyle, or your happiness, and then making sure that you don't ever do anything other than what supports that, right? And as he described it, you're defending happiness, and it's like, that's what really is what I'm doing, right? That's life systems and the people that I allow into my life, how and what I do every single day, the type of businesses that I do, the type of people that I'm in business with, how I live in those businesses, the structure I need with those businesses, how I look at my finances, how I look at money, how I look at where I want to live, how many kids I want to have, my relationship with my wife. Like every single aspect of all of it into one holistic system that ultimately is built to just be happy,
And defend happiness. I love you said that. So it's a beautiful principle, and it's parallel to when I studied again, when I was mentioning the Vedic philosophy earlier. There's a beautiful statement that says that when you protect your dharma is like your duty, what you were born to do, your calling, your passion, purpose, etc. When you protect your dharma protects you.
Yeah.
And so when you're talking about defending happiness, it's like protecting and defending. And when you protect your intentions, when you define them, when you defend them, as you said, then
and I would say
you're protected back.
And the hardest part, and especially hearing it, and it's because like at the end of the day, these deep principles of happiness are tried and true. How you design them for yourself is the difficult part, right? Because like your wants and needs are so complex that it's not a one size fits all to design it and then defend it, right? And I think for me, I refer to it as lifestyle and legacy. Like how do you want to live? Like I like fancy things. Like I want to live in a giant, beautiful house that I hit a button and all the doors go away with giant land. And like, I want crazy cars and explore the world the smoothest and easiest way, right? Like I love the conveniences. In my legacy, I want to be all of the ideas that I sat in room with entrepreneurs and created and shape and build and 20 years from now, the 100+ businesses that I helped develop and define, and then the life that I led doing it, right? Of showing that like, man, you can actually be incredibly successful, work incredibly hard, and be super balanced and super happy, right? And it's only comes from when you've mastered yourself, designed a life plan that has scale so that it can evolve with you. And it's built within sort of these core ideas that can evolve and grow with you over time, is super hard to do.
Yeah, for sure. You're making it sound easy.
Yeah,
I'm listening to you and it sounds like music.
Right.
But I know everyone else listening is going, how do you do that?
You're like, of course I got to do that. I get a plan. Then you go to like build the plan. It's like, oh, I want to buy a house. Okay, I want to buy where, it's like, it gets incredibly difficult at those layers. Then watching it come alive, once you've decided now you're living it, it becomes this remarkably thrilling thing to where like now you're optimizing these already deeply optimized plans even further, right? Which makes it it really begin to feel like you are controlling reality because you keep specifically laying out how you're going to do stuff and you keep doing it over and over, which really then begins to feel like you have control of the uncontrollable. You know what I mean? Is the beauty of it.
But I love how you embrace the paradox, right? Because in one side, you're like hosting ridiculousness. You're like all these silly videos. They're funny. They're meaningless in one sense, you know, but they're fun. They're fun. They're entertaining. And then on the other end, we're sitting here talking about like meaningful depth and intention and clarity. Like you literally, you embody the paradox.
Right. But keep in mind, it's part of the transition. You know what I mean? Where it's like, I would never do ridiculousness today. Right? Like I looked at it as this business opportunity when I created it, read an article with Vinny DeBona, did 500 million in global syndication with America's Funniest Home Videos. I was like, man, it's so slow. If I made like a cool, fast-paced one, I could put it into segment. Like had a vision for what it could be, but could have never predicted it to this level, right? Now, it's this unique art form, right? Because I put together these episodes, then I just basically freestyle comedy for 45 minutes straight that gets cut down into a television show. But it was also sort of the world of like, I got cartoons on Nickelodeons, I own professional skateboarding leagues, I got Fantasy Factory where I'm getting attacked by sharks and flipping cars, and I own racehorses, and I got all this different stuff. I have all these different businesses. I got ridiculousness. Like, it became this sort of, the way that I always describe it is when you have the ability to do anything and you do everything, you stand for nothing, right? And it was that sort of route that was like, nope, you've got to define what you want your legacy to be and then go build that. Now, the difference is I'm afforded a transition of having deep notoriety for being a clip show host. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it's like, it's powerful in the sense that it's like, man, another thing you just created out of nowhere, like name and idea, and went and found the resources and did it, like, from, writing a skit for a skateboard video that turned into Robin Big, the television show that turned into like, I know how to write show. I'm going to write a show that allows me to showcase my businesses and myself. And then it was like, man, I don't want to be shooting this reality. I'm going to write a show that I can shoot in a studio, where it would take me 6 months to shoot 10 episodes of Fantasy Factory. And I could shoot 10 episodes in 3 days of ridiculousness, right? It's like even sort of the evolution and all of it. And the fact that you were this pro skateboarder and all these sort of different things, it's a remarkable history to go along with the foundation that built you. But the drive and the desire and the passion is to be known for something completely different. And you look back on it and say, hey, oh yeah, I used to love his shows type of thing. You know what I mean? And right now we're in the transition. And I would almost argue the transition is probably about, 5-6 years long. And it started with sort of the evolved thinking that led to even doing Lewis's podcast, the first time I'd done any press in years, of had any conversations about it. And if I've only done podcasts basically over these last couple years, they're again those cornerstones of the transition that will eventually get there. But look, it's also a lot of fun to do. You know what I mean? It's still like always amazing, funny guests, from Kevin Hart to Mike Tyson to so many different interesting individuals. And then you just get on stage and you feel like, you're like a rapper or something, and you're like controlling the flow and moving it. You know what I mean? Like it's a really remarkable thing to have learned to master. that ultimately was something you created that ends up being a massive business because you've built everything as a business that also supports even your evolved business mind, and will be another great business story as it's related to my production company that produces all the shows and the value that it's created for me, you know?
Absolutely. And it's fascinating hearing it from me, because I love how much emphasis you place on the transition and evolution.
Yeah.
Because often we're either focused on the end or the beginning.
Yeah.
But the transition and the evolution is like the in-between piece, which is often forgotten or we don't want to be in.
Yeah.
Because it's harder.
Yeah.
It's harder to be in the transition.
Yeah. And, no, it's easy to be in the transition. It's hard to have a conversation about the transition.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, you know, where it's like, it's one of those things where you know what you're doing, right? You know how much you're evolving and what you're actually creating and what it's going to be. It's as clear as day. But the public still sees you so much differently, right? And really, why I really don't do anything but a long form conversation with individuals that are interested in the depth and willing to engage and want to understand it more, because then it's laying the foundation of like articulating where it's headed the right way. You know what I mean? Because it's not, which avoids doing like traditional press. You know what I mean? And for me, that's really like, you know, as when probably 2 years from now, then I'll start turning the content towards all business creation content, and eventually like showcasing my true way of thinking in real time with every single one of these ideas and entrepreneurs that I'm creating with. So then it's like, creates the gravity of other great entrepreneurs and minds that are like, I want to build a business with him, right? Because I look at it as art and science, right? I put my entire system for the world to see on how I build, because I'm still an architect, right? It's still me shaping and looking at the data and using my system to like who the target audience is and how can the product line scale and what's the real messaging and what does it stand for? Where's the real opportunity? It's all of that is the art side. And it will eventually be what the loudest version of my voice is once this side of it is done, but it'll still be done in that same sensibility that was a pro skateboarder that wrote a skit that led to a television show that led to 5 television shows and, you know, hundreds of episodes and, you know, 10 plus year run on MTV, you know. That same sensibility will now be much more evolved, and the principles and the sound will be more about living an extraordinary life, and all the things that I've created were with purpose that ultimately just level back to happiness, right? As opposed to seeking to achieve any material or financial record mark, but I still judge myself by that because it's still the ultimate scorecard as it relates to building a business. You know?
If you're listening closely, guys, Rob keeps saying the words clear and clarity. Clear and clarity. Like you've been repeating them over and over again, whichever question we've been into. You're obsessed with clarity. But most people struggle with clarity because we live in an unclear world, an uncertain world. How are you so fixated on finding it, and how are you finding it?
I think it's the most difficult thing to do. You know, I go back to that.
Another blessed,
You know what I mean? You go back to that design, but I put an anchor in the ground of like I'm not stopping till it all makes sense and it all connects. And the question, it was, stop looking at everything separately, right? Stop looking at how you want your relationships to be, how you want business to be, how you want your free time. Stop looking at any of it separately, and what type of life do you want? Now start looking at all the things that are making that life problematic and now start learning all the things that you need to learn in order to achieve that. And then over time, it refines into this, it just keeps getting more granular and more granular. It starts as a messy solar system, starts as a messy galaxy and turns into a star, into a solar system, down into a molecule, down into an atom type of thing. You know what I mean? It's like all the way down to string theory, right? It's like you just keep getting more clarity in all of those defined aspects. But the hardest part is defining those buckets first and going through the first couple layers that get you to that point. To do it. And I don't know, right? It's how I think, right? So it's how my mind thinks of everything, of like big picture, break it down to here. And then as you're breaking it down, you break it down even further every step of the way, and you're learning more and evolving. The path never changes, but the strategies and how you actually get there continue to evolve. And I don't know if, again, that's even fully teachable, right? It's principle based, but there is the art of it, is the ability to see into those layers as they're happening, pause, and rebuild when you see a new layer to add to it, right? And that is a creative, strategic, right brain, left brain sort of thing, right? And when I talk about it, some people connect with it. Some people are like, man, he's just talking gibberish, right? Because it's so hard to like fully understand what it is. And I reflect on, like, my wife's friend went and saw me like do an interview at this event, and she was like, I mean, I just don't think anybody understood what you were saying, right? And it was like, man, she's like, and
the
like
best feedback,
you know, and it's because, like, it's an evolved way of thinking for an evolved person, right? So it's like even a couple steps removed from just like you're 23 years old and you're trying to like figure out like what it's gonna take for you to find motivation. How am I gonna find my passion? These big anchors that without, you're like, literally you have no sail, no rudder, you're just in no man's land without those, right? And my way of thinking and talking just is never going to support helping somebody find motivation or passion, right? No. Like it's only for those that have that internal fire that will never stop like evolving and growing, and then ultimately these are the tactics that I've put in place to try to keep evolving that to an even higher level. You know what I mean?
The reason why I'm loving this conversation is because so many people today are fixated on, and for good reason, not in a bad way, fixated on demystifying everything. And as I'm like, you know, we're always trying to break things down. We're always trying to come up with 3 steps to this and 7 steps to this. And that's useful. Like anyone who's listening, I come up with content like that to help you find your passion and purpose. I get the need for it. But what I also loved about this is that you're remystifying it. Right? Like the whole world's trying to demystify it, and Rob's trying to remystify it. Because there is a beauty in mysticism. There is a beauty in exploration. There is a beauty in intellectual curiosity and not having everything laid out in diagrams. Like, as much as you love data, which you do, like you said right at the beginning, you said Bill put forward a business plan with clarity and broke it down. Like, you love that.
Love data.
But at the same time, you also like experiencing the process of figuring things out. Yeah. And not having everything as tactical.
Yeah. And look, and I also look at my path. Also, this didn't happen to my late 30s. You know what I mean? You're talking about someone that had great success and done all these different things and still couldn't, even though you were always about growth and always tried unique things to kind of help evolve your mindset and always get better, you know. And fundamentally, I always made this commitment to myself that I'd always be better the each following year more than the previous year, right? It still wasn't till there was this deep commitment to mastering life, right? And it's the one thing that needn't be mystified, because it's really what you're hunting. And the incredible joy of it is, I think it's going to be in a place that then I get to live out the next half of my life in this like life mastery of just complete bliss, because it took me, 5 to 10 years of fully committing to living the life that I want to actually go and do it, right? And I think it has a lot to do with my age too, of getting older and not just wanting success, but wanting clarity and seeking it on my own terms, right? Of not letting somebody say, hey, this is how you should look at life. Really, like, what type of life do you want? And let's start building it, right? And I think anybody can do that at any time. It's just based off of circumstances, right? It's like I'd already reached a certain level of success that allowed me to do that, right? Without the pain and stress of financial burdens or some sort of complexities of the relationships and people in my life, someone being sick or something. There's all these different factors that could affect the ability to ever get there, that I was also fortunate enough to never ever come across, right? Yeah. Which I always equated it to, when I was younger, to having an old soul and great guardian angels, right? And I'd just be like, man, I just am like something is looking over me that keeps allowing me to like not catch an L here, because I'm putting myself in some bad positions, you know? And I'm as I've evolved, I simplified it back then, and now I look at it as it's more like you actually just have this ability to manage the world and your universe and your intuition to guide you the way, like you said. And as you've gotten older, now you've learned to like use it. Rather than before, it just sort of helped you. Now you can use it as like a tool type of thing.
That unconscious ability becomes conscious.
Right.
And you're able to say, okay, before I could sense stuff, but now I'm going to actively put it into practice and action,
right,
so that I can guide myself and navigate.
Not many people can relate to that.
Yeah. Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like, unless it's very hard to try to get somebody to believe in their ability to manage their own intuition and control the uncontrollable if they've never experienced it. It's like my mom certainly, like, oh God, I pray that the Lord does that for me. You know what I mean? Like, it's like there's no chance, like, that even idea of an evolved way or mastering life, it doesn't even, not even in her mind, way of thinking. No part of the system, no anything. She's still cut from the world of like, this is how you're supposed to live, and I'm gonna live it out, right? Like, and that I think in this particular era that we're in, what I like to call the wellness squad era, where there's so many platforms and this deep evolved and especially in this younger millennial world, this evolved way of thinking of like, you can better yourself and evolve and create your own life on your terms, is a bigger movement. We're so close to it that it feels like we connected with so many people that are a part of it, but I think we'll look back 10, 15 years from now as like the beginning of this much deeper wave that's a part of evolving, like even just our entire species long term, you know what I mean? Little bit far, but in that degree of how important this sort of zone is, of where it's now normal for everybody to talk about how they can improve themselves. Yeah. Where before it was like, what can I learn to get me a job, to pay for a life, that I can have fun on the weekends, right? Like is what we're breaking out of,
Yeah, the seeds are being planted right now. Yeah. Like you're saying, like this wave. It's interesting when you think about it, how we'll look back at this wave. Yeah. Because even in the wave, there's so many different movements. But the point you're making still stands, that this is, the seeds are being planted.
Yeah, and I think all the different styles in the wave are just the beginning. Yeah. I think 20, 30 years from now, like it will just be a part of it, this, what you connect with and who you connect with and how they're growing and evolving, and you basically piggyback on growing and evolving with them.
Yeah.
Is going to be a major sort of thing, man. And I think everybody that's doing it now, it will be much bigger on a much higher level and be way more mainstream and normal. Like to me, it's almost like underground, like hip hop. Right now. And like it's going
culture,
to be like this much bigger sort of thing, like because there's real effect. There's real, when you are growing and evolving and learning and just being a better version of yourself, it's undeniable, right? And I think in the previous generation, you went to church for that sort of idea of where you're going to find a more traditional spirituality, if you will, and then the other side of it, becoming a monk for 3 years, doing all these other, it's too far over here. But then in the middle, there's like, no, it's just about your own journey and what you actually need to evolve and become a better version. And then when you start seeing that output in your relationships, in your energy, in your happiness, and all these things, it's so much more quantifiable than putting small practice into something that doesn't have an actual output. Is just my broader theory.
I love it, man.
On where you might be headed, man. On where you might be headed.
I'm with it. I love it, man. I love hearing it from your perspective because I feel like you've lived through cycles. Like you already have. Like you still are. You're defining cycles too, but you lived through cycles. So I always get fascinated listening to someone who's lived through cycles and then knows how to look back.
Yeah.
Like I'm still living through a cycle and then I'll be able to look back.
Yeah.
But you've done that multiple times.
And the hard part is looking back, being part of it. And it's like, man, especially like I almost feel like you only have so much energy, right? So sometimes you dedicate a ton of energy to growth and make a deep run, right? Sometimes you're in sort of cruise control because you're working on stuff you grew to, and then you don't. It's like even the pace of it is super unique. And I would almost say that I'm in this like weird sprint cycle, almost like the Ray Dalio, like he does this like sort of like big idea, failure, big growth. It's just these sort of loops that keep going up, and I can just feel those. And again, why I go back to like these podcasts become these marks of like how much different, same sort of ideology, core principles, but how they're evolving because I am in this like just hyper evolving space where you pick something you want to involve in and then you go so deep to take a leap forward. And now, imagine then you just keep surrounding yourself even further and deeper with other people that are part of that evolution and that growth. And you just keep like compounding almost your knowledge and the evolution of the growth of that I think will eventually settle out. Right? Because at some point I don't think I'll want to commit the same energy to the evolution as much as I will want to be able to maximize and enjoy what I would consider the peak of myself. But I don't know that.
Yeah.
So, you know what I mean? I couldn't wouldn't even imagine I would be able to articulate it at this point. So, who knows what 10 years from now will be like.
Yeah. I've noticed those cycles as well in people of the 5 that I've broken it down to that I've experienced and seen is learn cycles. Like when you're in a cycle where it's all about learning, it's all about growth, it's just observing, reflecting, and then moving on from that is experimenting and testing. It's a cycle that you're in where you're trying out loads of things, personally, professionally, whatever it is, you're just figuring it out. You don't know what's going to work. And then the third one's like performing. You get into a bit of a groove and you're like, this is moving, this is happening. This is, you start seeing patterns and you start seeing formulas and you start seeing things add up. And then the fourth one, which we all know, which is like struggle.
Yeah.
Or like you're in a cycle where you're just like, you're trying, you're performing, but you just, knocking on a door, it's not knocking. And the fifth one is thriving. Like sometimes you're in a cycle where things are just in flow and you're thriving. And everyone always wants to be and thrive.
Yeah.
But the challenge is you got to do the 4 before, and it's continuous.
Yeah.
So those are the ones I've observed at least.
I think I would argue that that's probably it to the T.
Okay.
And then I would say, almost like to go back to what I'm, my overarching principle there, or statement is, I think my journey is to thriving all the time, right? Like at some point, you have fully optimized something, right? Now there might be little things that come along that allow it to be better, but at certain points you have fully created something for yourself. In my sense, it would be a life system and a way of living that now has you at such a level that even this incoming unpredictable chaos there's a system for how that even works in there to manage it, and how it fully works, and nothing can break through your defense of your happiness. Would be living at a thriving level, right? And I would almost, they call it the flow state of when that energy is like, when life is effortless, right? And the only way to stay effortless is to make sure so many aspects of it are under control and protected, so that nothing can come in and cause the problems that force you to get out of that state in order to correct or put energy into fixing something that you should have been able to see coming, more or less, right? Like, but I would say that's the great goal, is to like one day just be in thrive mode, and just live in thriving forever. You know? And I can see it. See it. Like, even look, I know you probably meditate for like 10 hours at a time.
2.
And I couldn't even like quiet my mind for a second. And even since I use like a dome that I get in and meditate in, I only listen to one meditation, right? And it's the manifestation meditation. It's a guided 20-minute thing, and I just think about every bit of life of what I want to happen, and visualizing it, playing it out, and it always leads to this incredible happy feeling in the house that I build, and my whole family there, and all together just having like a super simple moment, whether it's watching TV or having dinner. Like, it always leads to that sort of moment, and the feeling in it is the feeling of thriving at a high level, where there's very little worry, and you are as light as a feather, living in true earthly happiness. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You mentioned the earthly happiness. Do you see a difference in realms? And
Look, I can't call it, other than I just think this is, when you look at how we've evolved and what we understand of the universe as a whole, we're these fleshy, sketchy objects that could, I could trip and hit my head, and that's it. This whole thing's like, you're gone, right? Like, and so to me, I just don't even think we have the ability to even wrap our heads around how this entire system is actually connected. And fundamentally, the closer we get to it, the further it gets away. Because it's not like all it is that much more insane. I find it, every single night I watch something to do with the universe before I go to bed, as I'm falling asleep, right? Just the scale and what the universe is so fascinating to me, right? And this idea that 100 years ago, 500 years ago, it was like, oh shoot, we're not the center of the universe, the sun is, right? Then 100 years ago, it's like, man, we're not in a galaxy, we're in one of billions of galaxies, and guess what? They're all like going away from each other. Like, that means, and we can look back and see that, oh my gosh, this whole thing started 14 billion years ago. Now we know how long and what this entire we are never going to ever get to a place that can answer any fundamental question through science that will ever equate to our consciousness, right? We just won't. There's no, Dad, nothing's ever going to happen, and then we'll never, we can land on the Big Bang, but all we land on is, well, what happened before that, right? Like, you got nowhere to go. Like, that's our only question. Our question is, oh, is it real? Like, oh, we're not real. Then none of this is real. Like, there's no way you could possibly put any level of intellect and self-conversation and figure anything out. But what is fundamentally true is it's all, at the bottom that we're just bits of energy that are fully connected through this giant wave of energy, right? And what does that ultimately mean from a long-term spiritual aspect? It's hard to lock in necessarily on something for me personally, but I certainly connect with the idea that it's part of what allows you to use your intuition and deep clarity and all these different aspects to attract and have things that actually evolve in the real world that you get to experience and actually live. You know what I mean? I think beyond that, it's just I don't have an answer, or even don't have the time for the question that would ultimately benefit me, because I would keep hitting the same roadblock on the fundamentals. You know what I mean?
No, it's great in your thoughts, man. I'm really glad when you talked about your meditation, your visualization. You talked about seeing your family. I wanted to talk to you a bit about your family. We were speaking about your son earlier. And I thought, what I admire about you is when I look at your life from the outside in, because I'm looking at it from the outside, it's beautiful that your family has been such a great focus for you. And is so meaningful to you. And I read this, I picked this out from, I went into your wife's Instagram profile. I was looking at some of her long captions. She writes great captions. She's so good, Your wife writes awesome captions. But in one of them, she wrote this. She said that you started talking about marriage and kids on your first date with your now wife, right? I wanted to ask you, how did that strategy pan out, and do you recommend it?
Look, I knew I was going to marry her from the instant, right? And I felt my whole life I would know instantly as well. That's how much a deep believer in true love that I just never wavered on, right? And there were times where I thought am I being unrealistic? But I steadfast to it, and I would go back to that unrelatable story again, right? Where it's like, when I tell the love story with my wife and how insane it is that, like, I always felt like I was connected to Hawaii, and then her and families from the same small town in Ohio I'm from, and it's like, what? And then like then to find out that she swam with dolphins because she was a Make-A-Wish child and had 6 months to live in Hawaii, and then decided she was gonna let herself live. Like, it was like the moment she told that story, I was like, instantaneously, this is my wife. And then the actual path to marriage, to children, and the actual relationship that we have, I couldn't even fathom that a relationship like this was possible, that it ultimately is the cornerstone of what shifted my mind from looking at all these different things and, no, what does forever look like? This is now us and our universe forever. And it's the purest, realest love, like this deeply, like, unwavering, zero question, zero doubt, zero, like, it's so deeply meant to be and pure. it feels unrealistic to sharing it with people. You know what I mean? I go back to that, like, oh, of course you do. You know what I mean? Oh, of course you like that. And so
unrelatable.
Like, right? Like unrelatable.
Remystifying Rob.
Yeah, like this is not like, here's Rob, like with this another thing of just like, oh, you know, it's.
I love it, man.
When it piles up in, again, it's why it puts me in this like weird,
no, I love it.
When I talk about it on that level, but it is this deep unknown, right? That is the only reason I was able to evolve to this place, you know, and that, you know, even to her, she just will never fully like, even though I tell her all the time, I would never like, you know, 'cause I live in a world where I get overwhelmed with happiness. I'm like in the kitchen, I'll be like, God, I'm so happy. Right, like I get like why? Like I just love my life. Like I get deeply overwhelmed with it, and I always tell her it's like I would never have had the ability to get here without you. And that's not true. That's not true. You know what I mean? Like no, it really would be impossible, because I do believe to get to that level that you do need a partner and need to be connected at a deep level to create your own universe together. I think it's just essential, you know, and but not necessarily, I guess, I think in experience of so many people I know, I don't hear very many people talk the way that I talk about their wife, that they've been together for years and have children with, you know what I mean? So, and look, and the beauty of it is I'm thankful, you know what I mean? And like what an incredible thing. But then best believe our children feel that energy in the realest way, right? It's like there's no, you can just see in how they're evolving and what they are, that they are from this deeply happy home of love, and like there's no the confidence and the way that they talk and think and who they are already at 1 and 2, and how happy they are, is because they don't know an environment that's any other way, right? And it's never wavered. You know, it's like I have very rarely never been singing my son awake and my daughter awake first thing when they get up, you know what I mean? And very rarely do I not put them to bed, you know? And I think that sort of aspect is going to create long-term stability for them just finding their own happiness, right? Because I don't ever want to like make your own decision. If you end up being like unmotivated because we live in this castle and like dad's super cool and he's like, whatever, if you don't want to go to school, let's go to Hawaii. Like, you know, I don't have any preconceived like thoughts on how they'll evolve. It's really like funny to see my 1-year-old daughter, how she has this raspy laugh and just laughs nonstop at everything, and how happy she is, like how cool my 2-year-old is, who was born cool, who just never wanted to be held, like who even this morning, no kisses, Dad. I'm gonna kiss you. Like, and like how you're like seeing them already shaping into who they're and who they're going to be. And I want to be responsible for it, but I just know I'm not. Right? Like you just don't have like I know we're giving you a great base and this solid foundation, but the soul that's in you is the person that is in you. Is not being created day to day here. That is, you were born this way. You know what I mean? And it's an incredible process to watch come alive. And I think even going back to where we were speaking earlier, and you're like, when does a kid walk? Like at 5? Yeah. Right? Like, what was it, like 2, 3? Yeah. And I'm like, no, 1. It's like I had so many like misconceptions about children, and I'm like, what? Like the whole process has been like, I feel like I've known so many people that I've never heard this. Like, this is how this stuff works. Yeah. Like it is truly one of those things that you just never fully understand till you start living it. And really, I think it really evolves when the personality evolves, and now you're communicating, and 2-year-olds telling you jokes and trying to manipulate you, and like, you know, saying, let's watch football. You want to watch football? And I'm like, okay. And we sit down on the couch, and he's like, Toy Story. And I'm like, what? Like, he just tricked me because like he knows that I love to watch football and got me on the couch to watch football. And then when I'm like, we're watching football, then he cries and like, Toy Story, Toy. And then it's like, okay, God, you got me. You know what I mean? It's
and
like,
then you're sitting there watching Toy Story.
Yeah, then we're watching Toy Story, right? Like, but I'm just so impressed that how can you be this young and trick me like that?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's.
Well, he's your son.
Yeah, it's like.
Gets it from you or the mom. So.
And it's like the beauty of, like, as he's evolving, and it's like, man, you really are, like, it's that much more endearing and so sweet when, like, it feels like a little version of you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Being funny, being a smart ass, like, acting all cool. Like, it's like, it's incredibly endearing. And again, you know, for me, you know, part of our plan is 5 children, and I want to evolve. You know, I explained to my main executive, like, look, my long-term goal here is not to work more. Like, it's why I'm very careful with how we set up all of these businesses, and how what my responsibilities are at all stages. And long-term, I want to have the ability to peel that back, and including working a lot more from home long-term, in order to be around my children as they get older, as I get older and want to spend more time with them. And again, designing that out ahead of time, you know, so that that's not something I've got to go and do one day. It's part of like what the current pathway is now, and everybody's expectations are managed against that, including my own decision making, so that I don't ever end up committing to something that might disrupt that or ever take away from me. Because the beauty of the setup now is, since I don't operate anything, I go through the thrill of creation and advise, I could literally not talk to anyone ever again. And however it plays out, like, it's not, I'm not an essential moving piece in any of them.
That's smart.
Which gives me, then again, that ultimate freedom, right? And then even how I treat and how I run money and look at money based off of the life that I want to live is then built into this entire system. So then I don't even ever have to even think about that again. Like, all of it is built around you making the decisions at all times on where you want to put your energy and why you want to put it there. Never being dragged into something or being forced to do something, which to me is ultimately what you work so hard for, and adds to success, happiness, and the balance of what I think leads to an extraordinary life. You know?
That's beautiful, man.
Yeah.
It's so good hearing that.
Yeah.
I can definitely say that my wife and I were pretty much the same, where we decided, we practically like went from date 1 to saying I like you to saying I love you on date 2, and we knew we were gonna get married.
Yeah.
It was an incredible connection that we felt immediately, and we were just certain, we were sure that we were gonna get married. It was just gonna happen. And we've been together for like just over 5 years now, total, married for 2 years. We haven't got kids yet, so excited about that as well.
And when do you what's your is that like 5 years from now? Like, what's your
for kids?
Yeah.
No, in the next couple of years. Yeah. Sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
Sooner rather than later, I bet.
That's a wild ride.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. I can come.
But it's nothing quite as beautiful as being deeply in love with someone, and what's the ultimate thing that you can do is create a life together. Then it's like, God, it's like, this is both of us.
Yeah.
And it's remarkable, you know, and when they don't want to talk to either of you, it's like, this is so cute. Look at this. It's just like you. This is how you are. You know what I mean? Like, it's that, like, it's a beautiful thing. No doubt.
No, we're excited. We'll have to come take classes from you. And
Yeah, look, get a night nurse.
Yeah, no, I love that, man. That's awesome, bro. It's been incredible talking to you. I end every interview with my final 5 questions, 5 rapid fires. Final 5 minutes. So these are yours. Rob, my first question for you is, you said that you have an unquenchable desire to live life to the fullest.
Yeah.
How is that happening today?
Look, I think today, when I say it, it has a lot more to do with the passions that I have for creating and designing and living out this extraordinary life. You know, I think it's affords me to continue to go on incredible adventures while still being married and having children and still working so hard every single day and achieving stuff I never thought was possible inside the framework of balance and happiness, right? So to me, that is the fullest, right? Where you get you're maximizing the output that you're getting that leads to, again, the life you want to lead and the legacy you want to leave behind, you know, and built on a foundation of doing incredible stunts and multiple television shows and all these bigger than life things that one would have been a dream to have, let alone so many different ones, you know.
Yeah, that's beautiful, man. Second one, you say progression is the key to happiness.
Yeah.
Define that for us.
I think it's pretty binary, man. Like it's you're either dead stopped and you're fully depressed, or you're moving forward and you're hopeful, right? And if you are moving backwards, you're in no man's land, right? I think it is, you got two directions to go, right? And to me, as long as you are consistently moving forward and evolving on, and that's all aspects. That's relationships, that's business, that's health, that's wealth, that's literally all of the core principles that you need to be fulfilled. They have to constantly be evolving and growing in order for you to feel the fulfillment that you're achieving, right? Because without it, you question everything. Like if you start to roll back, you spend all your energy not pushing things forward and using that momentum. You spend all your energy on questioning and doubting and like getting into no man's land. And I just think if people just focused on that, that it would eliminate so many different things that play a part in dragging them down and forcing them into doubt, you know.
Absolutely, great answer, man. Number 3, what do you do when life doesn't go your way or not as you planned?
You know, I think it's like a pizza bender. You know what I mean? Maybe I'll go get Chick-fil-A, man. Like, I'll binge eat some sweet tarts. But I think it's inevitable that you get hammered by stuff. It's why it's so important for me to build a world that's built to withstand it. And I think for me at this point, it's the deep faith of you got to weather it, right? It's that deep faith of like, and knowing that like this is a moment in time. And one of the beauties of having so many different things going on that give you energy, even one big one that rips you apart, you can get pulled out of it real quick by having other ones that are moving at another speed. I think that's another piece of my system that really avoids ever getting torn down there. But ultimately it is, it's cliche, but it's a moment in time. And as long as you, one foot in front of the other is going to get you out of it and past it and wherever you're headed, you know.
Nice, man. You told us, fourth one away. You told us what you do just before you go to bed. What do you do when you wake up? First thing you do.
I mean, I went to this, the great Dr. George Pratt, who's hypnotized me for success when I was 25 years old. He wrote a book called Hyper Success, but he taught me this breathing technique, right? That's just crossing your legs and arm and rolling up like this and doing this breathing stuff. But for some reason, I just roll into it alarm goes off at 5 a.m, I roll into it and then just immediately give thanks.
Nice.
Right? Like just like, and it always, and it's not practice, it's pure. It's like your wife, you're chilling, the healthy chilling, the life. Like this morning I just said, 'cause just had some extraordinary, uncontrollable, unexplainable explosions of success that I could have never like even imagined over the last week. And I just said, I'm like, through all the healthy family, a beautiful wife and family and their health, and just this position that I've put myself in for these incredible things to happen, right? And it starts my day, but keep in mind, like that's at 5:01. And then I brush my teeth and I get in that dome every single day, unwavering. And it is that, even if you got, because sometimes you'll have layers of things on you, like, but you practice gratitude and then get in a manifestation egg, you start every day like as crystal clear, like, and filled with almost no doubt on anything that you're doing on a daily basis, right? It's in a practice that I don't know is realistic for most people. Most people are like, man, 5 a.m.
Yeah.
Like I can't do it, and it's like, especially going straight into meditation straight up at 5 a.m. But again, that's what's it's an egg with like lights and like sound. So it's like, you feel like you're like floating in space, but it's been the most significant thing I've done over the last year that has just put me in this much deeper, elevated mindset that allows there to be very little days that you're even like bothered by anything, right? It's pretty remarkable. Now, again, that's just optimizing what's already a significantly optimized system, right? Meaning, like, if you have like a crazy chaotic life and you get up and say, so grateful for everything, and jump in the dome, like, and you get out and like, it's chaos, right? Like, it's not going to save your life. It is the higher level for an already deeply optimized individual. But at that stage, you begin to see, you can feel changes or nuance, right? And you see how things evolve. And really, even, the joke at my office is like, something crazy will happen and it'll be like, did you think about that in the dome today?
Yeah.
Like, it will be on that level.
I need to check out this dome, man. I want to meditate in this dome.
Man, the Solomon Dome, it's so sick.
That's
like,
awesome.
But yeah, that's my morning routine.
I love it, man. Thank you. And fifth and final question, what's your words of wisdom for me as someone who's a member of the Wellness Squad? What words of wisdom, guidance do you have for me?
Look, I think, as someone who I think is deeply passionate about ultimately helping others, that it's defining what your personal value proposition will be inside this world long term, that has the ability to serve a purpose that can be shared by many people, that say, hey, you need to, if this is where you're at, you need to listen to Jay for this. The more defined and clear your personal value proposition is over time, and what you ultimately become specifically known for will turn into the mastery and greatness that I think you ultimately seek. You know what I mean?
I love that, man. Thank you so much.
Look, I don't know, man, this is trying to build some brands out here.
Thank you, man. I'm so grateful, Rob, for you coming on. I think we learned so much about you. I love the fact that you were open enough to admit that actually some things are just mystical. They are blessed to be that way. And it's beautiful to discuss it in that way. I think we live in such a world that always wants to break things down. Sometimes it's nice to just see them as they are. So thank you for opening up about your philosophies, your beliefs, a bit on business. We snuck that in there too. And your relationship. Thank you so much for sharing yourself, man. I really, really appreciate it.
Loved
so
it.
Grateful.
Really enjoyed it.
Thank
Appreciate
you, man.
it.
Awesome. Thank you. If you want even more videos just like this one, make sure you subscribe and click on the boxes over here. I'm also excited to let you know that you can now get my book, Think Like a Monk, from thinklikeamonkbook.com. Check below in the description to make sure you order today.